our teaching kitchen. So today we're going to be doing a couple of things. First thing, we're going to be talking about some nice safety skills and showing you how to cut up a mango. Then we're going to be working on making a really nice fresh mango salsa that we're going to use to then top off our pan-seared tilapia with a sweet chili mango sauce. So let's get into the first task. So as you can see, we got a mango right here. Still has its skin on it. So what I like to do first is I go through and I skin my mango. And I just use a basic, vegetable peeler, potato peeler, or anything like that. And I'm just going to make sure I get all of my skin off. I've already started peeling the skin off of this one just to make the process go a little bit faster. So once I've skinned my mango, what I like to do is I like to find the bottom. That's where it grows from the tree. And then from there, I use that to kind of determine where the seed inside of the mango is and allow myself to cut it. So you notice our mango, it kind of looks like an egg. So we want to be cutting on each side of the seed. So we're going to find the nut, bottom. We're going to come to the right side. And our knife's going to be able to go nice and smoothly. That means we haven't hit our seed. Same thing on the other side. And beautiful. Then we can just discard this core. You can eat it later if you'd like. And then from there, I'm going to start dicing up this mango so I can turn it into my fresh mango salsa. So I'm just doing what's known as a quick dice on this to make nice little cubes that'll then be my salsa. And these can be as thick or as thin as you want. I like a bunch of different sizes so I get a different texture and different consistencies with each different bite. And there we go. So now that we got our mangoes all cut up, we're going to add those to a bowl with a couple of other fresh ingredients. So we're going to use some red onion. We're going to introduce a little bit more color with some yellow bell pepper. A little bit of green bell pepper. And then we also have a couple of other things over here. I'm going to add some diced jalapenos to give it a little bit of kick to it, because that's what I like. A couple of chopped green onions, some cilantro, a pinch of salt and pepper. And then I also like to add a little bit of lime juice. We're just squeezing this lime. Nothing too simple, nothing too difficult. Add a little bit more. And then we're just going to do a quick mix. What I like to look for in my salsa is nice fresh flavors and lots of color in there. And you can see we're starting to achieve that with all the other vegetables that we've added to it. So that's going to commence our salsa at that point. So now we're going to slide on down and we're going to start working on our tilapia. First things first, I'm going to change my gloves because I am going from one ingredient to another one, which would be raw fish. And I just want to make sure that I'm keeping nice sanitary conditions. So as you can see, we got some beautiful fillets of tilapia here. One thing that we have to keep in mind with tilapia is they have what's known as pin bones that will run through the side. They're really small and they're really difficult sometimes to find. So what I like to do is, whether I've caught my tilapia and skinned it myself or I'm getting it from the store, I always like to just do a double check to make sure that the quality is up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my hand just along the side of the tilapia fillet. I'm going to feel, if I don't feel any spiky pins, I know there aren't any pin bones in there. If there were, what we would do is you can grab a pair of needle nose pliers, or if the pin bone is out far enough, you can actually use your fingers to just grab the pin bone, and you're going to want to pull against it. And that'll be a quick and easy way to take out those pin bones. So it looks like there are no pin bones in our fillets, so we're all good with that. One thing I like to do, especially if I'm going to sear my fish, which we are going to do, I like to just pat it down a little bit so there's not a whole lot of wet moisture on there. So we can get a really nice hard sear on that when we first initially put our fish into our pan. So now that our fish is all wiped down, I'm going to start my burner. And one of the most important things you want to do when you're cooking your fish in a pan is you want to make sure you get your skillet or whatever pan you're using really, really hot. So then the first time you put your fish down, you get a really nice sear on there. So as my pan's heating up, I'm just going to use a little bit of oil and just a little butter. I'm going to let that all melt down, and then as that heats up, I'm going to make sure it gets really nice and hot. While my pan's heating up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through and I'm going to season my fish a little bit. So I'm just going to use a quick salt and pepper, just a little bit on one side, and then some delicious peri sauce, some seasoning. A little bit of that right there. The peri is going to introduce a little bit of extra flavor to it, and it's also going to give us a really nice color when we do sear that fish. Now I know many of us are going to be tempted to get our fish right in the pan as soon as we start seeing this oil and butter melting, but I highly regard against that. You really want to make sure this oil is hot, so take your time, and if it takes you a couple extra minutes to heat up that oil, I would highly recommend doing that. You're just going to get a much better product doing that. So cooking isn't only about taste, we also use a bunch of our other senses, your smell, your sight, and also your hearing. So one thing I like to do is as I'm heating up my oil or butter or anything, I like to listen to my pan. Once I can start hearing cracks and snaps of bubbles, as you can start kind of see and hear with this, I know my oil is starting to get hot. So I'm going to let it heat up just a little bit more before I initially put my fish into that pan. Alright, now that I got that, I'm going to say it's nice and good. And you see, you listen how when we first initially dropped that fish into the pan, it had that nice hissing, searing sound. That means that our pan's hot enough, and we can already hear that sound is starting to creep up because our pan is so hot it's now starting to sear the outside of our fish. While my fish is face down, I put my seasoned side down first in the pan. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come through and I'm going to season the opposite side. So when I go to flip, I already have my fish is already seasoned. And again, I know many people are going to be very tempted to check your fish or flip it. Don't do that. Hold off as long as physically possible on your first flip. By doing that, we can really make sure we get a nice crusty sear on the top of our tilapia, which we're trying to go for. And as we see, the color is starting to change on our fish. I'm especially looking at the bottom edge. I can start seeing that it's going from that beautiful pink color that the fish initially was, to it's now starting to become an opaque white. What I know that is, that oil and butter is now starting to cook the bottom side. So I'm just going to let it continue for a couple more moments, and then I'm going to flip it. What I like to do when I go to flip my fish, I like to shake my pan. If my fish isn't moving, I know it's got a really nice sear and it's stuck to the bottom of my pan. So in order to help loosen that up, I'm going to do what's known as deglazing your pan. So you're basically going to steam clean it. So what I like to do is I'm going to add a little bit of white wine to it. And what that's going to do is now you can see it's helped loosen up my fish. So it's going to make it easier when I go to flip it. Add a little bit of lemon juice too, just to help cut that wine sharp flavor. So then as you can see, the dark peri seasoning has really darkened up. So one thing we can do is if we wanted to, if we were cooking blackened tilapia or something, I would add a lot more seasoning and hold it a lot longer so you'd really get that blackened flavor to it. Now since we cooked the top side so long, when we flip it, we're not going to need to cook the bottom side as long as the top because we spent most of the cooking time making sure that that got that nice sear. I'm just going to continue to move it around just so I make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of my pan and it's easier to get my fish out when I'm done. While my fish is continuing to cook, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to start to bring some of my ingredients that I'm going to use to make up the sweet mango sauce. So I'm going to bring in the same things we used for our mango salsa. I'm going to bring in some red onion, some mango, yellow and green bell pepper. I'm also going to add a little of this jalapeno. And I like to have all these ingredients set aside, so when I'm ready to cook and use them, they're already available to me. So if we look at our fish, let's check the bottom. Our bottom's looking nice and cooked. So we're actually all set with this. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to pull my fish off the stove and just let it rest for a little bit. While it's resting, that's when I'll start working on my sauce. So again, I got my pan heating up. I'm just going to add a little bit of butter. That's my preferred thing to put in the bottom of your pan as opposed to oil. I'm going to let this melt. And what I'm going to do is, to create the sauce, I'm going to saute a lot of my fresh vegetables just to intensify and allow the flavors to meld a little bit better. Now that I got my butter melted, I'm going to start adding my fresh vegetables. So I'm just doing a quick saute on my vegetables. By doing this, I'm allowing the sugars to caramelize, the flavors to intensify, and also by putting them all together, I'm allowing those flavors to meld and mix a little bit better, so we form a better consistency to our sauce. And we don't really need to cook these vegetables too long because I don't want them to be wilty and mushy. I still want them to be firm so you still get that texture in your sauce. I'm going to flip them one more time. Add a little bit more lemon juice to it. Little lime juice, or white wine, I'm sorry. Some fresh lime juice to it. And allow that to steep my vegetables a little bit. And what I'm going to add to it is just a quick sweet mango chili sauce. And then I'm just going to mix everything together. Alright, and while my sauce is heating up, I'm going to start getting ready to plate all of this up for us. So, first things first, make sure we got our plate. I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean. Give it a nice quick wipe down. There we go. Now I'm going to think of where I want to put my stuff. So I know I definitely want to bring some of this beautiful mango salsa we got. So I'm going to plate that right on the side. Just like this. And I want a lot of height on this. Because what I'm then going to do is I'm going to take my piece of fish. I'm going to lay this on top of it. And then I'm just going to take this beautiful sauce I created, Just do a nice quick drizzle on top. And there we go, folks. A beautiful piece of pan-seared tilapia with a beautiful sweet mango chili sauce and a nice quick fresh mango salsa. Enjoy, folks.